like, yeah, man, I golf. They not golfers either. They be lying. Like people be lying about that shit all the time. You know what I mean? Um, that shit hard. This ain't no easy game to pick up. So you gotta have time on your hand. Yeah, man, this shit ain't easy. Like if you ever watch professional golf on TV, you see them make mistakes and never recover. So imagine what the average golfer go through. You know, the person who's trying to learn the game. I got some partners who say, "Oh man, I really play golf," and then when I'm watching them, I'm like, "Man, you be out here wasting your time and money." So it
Out
is
here
what it
trying to
is.
stay away from the house and wifey.
That's really
buying
what it
themselves
be.
some time. Look, the
That's really
long
what it be.
the most I've ever spent time at was Top Golf, bro. And I played like ass over there, so I can't imagine what it looked like at the golf range, bro.
Yeah,
That's just probably even worse.
yeah. Imagine having to go stick your hand in them bushes and a little snake or a gator over there.
Yeah, that
Now that's
ain't.
Florida.
I'm about to say that ain't it for me, buddy. The first time I see a snake is the last time I go to a golf course. I tell you that much.
Or
I'm not
alligator.
playing. Or an alligator, bro. I seen somebody at a golf like they got in the water, took their shoes off. Where alligator, I don't know who the golfer was. I can't remember, but he stuck his foot in there with no fear. Where an alligator just was, bro. Just to swing the golf club. I couldn't do it. I don't know.
And Florida is the Australia of the United States.
Man,
That is
they in
true.
more than just Florida. They in more than just Florida.
Louisiana?
Most
You got
man,
Louisiana,
most
Mississippi.
most of the places that you got water on the course, you don't know what's off in there. It's a moccasin or something coming through there
Oh my
that
god.
you don't want no parts of.
Hey, so Clinton, man. Obviously I mentioned earlier that you are like a OG to this point, and the reason why I had to emphasize that is because there's a section of the fan base who actually grew up watching the team that you played on for the Washington. I guess the Redskins back then. I can say it. But the Skins back then, they grew up watching you play. So like I don't know if it even means anything to you, but how does that OG title make you feel to know that there's plenty of people who, even when you're on the radio, sometimes people call you and be like, "Hey man, appreciate the time that you've given us." They do the same thing with D Hall, Santana, all that type of things. Like, how does that OG title make you feel to know that you had made an imprint into this fan base and things like that?
Oh, that's what it make you feel. Oh, you used to look at the guys like B. Mitch and Doc Walker, you Sonny Jurgensen's, and you be like, man, they played and they was a part of historic teams, and all of a sudden, we didn't have any history. I think we brought a different energy to the city, and just having the luxury of playing with Sean T and playing with Santana, myself, Marcus, Chris Samuel. I think the guys, Smoot, those guys that was in that community uh, meant so much. Even the unsung heroes, the Mike Sellers, the Rock Cartwrights, the Kerry Campbells, the list goes on. The people that was just embedded in the community and that meant well or did well. And then you have those guys that didn't do shit there that the community can't stand. So um, everybody came in. The guys that during my term, the LeVar Arringtons of the world that was everything community that participated, that was around. Uh, the change to Dan and everything that had to go along with it. I think it was '05 or something. I just remember we had the city on fire,
Yeah, for sure.
and the Wizards was good. Just the sports period at that time, it was a memorable. It seemed like it was a longer run, but it was really like '05. '04, I think we showed some signs. '05, we had an opportunity. '06, um, kind of shuffleboard, got injured. '07, we had another opportunity, and then I think everything with Sean just embedded us in the community. But just for that short period in what the guys that was in that town, Karan Butler, Gilbert Arenas, Sean Stevenson, when you look at the imprint that the sports world left on the city of DC at that time,
Yep.
it was just a different vibe.
For sure. And I seen I heard you just mention the '06 year. Obviously injuries took a place in how I guess competitive you were each and every week. But '05 and '07 was really special, right? And for the obvious reasons. But what seasons when you were here? Obviously, you was here for 7 years in Washington. But what seasons leading up to a season? It can be anywhere between '04 and 2010. But what seasons leading up to week one did you think was your best chance to make a deep playoff run? That's the first question, and I guess I'll hold off on the second part. But yeah, what year was that for you, or if it was multiple years, what years was that for you?
Well, I think '04 when you brought in Marcus Washington, Sean Springs, Brunel, it was like a change of guard. Something was brewing. And '05, everything kind of came together. Um, Everything came together in '05, and it was like we were dead and just came back to life. I think we went on a 7 or 8 game win streak, which energized the city and brought something different now. And that just brought a brotherhood. If you were in the locker room, it was so many different crews and cliques, but people could never tell. Like if we were out in public, you could never tell. And I think that was the beauty of it because it was like a brotherhood. It was big brother, little brother in the locker room where we spar and we argue and maybe even fight. But once we got out in public, it was like, man, let's pull this shit together and have a good time. And then once you got on the field, you were able to kind of trust each other and believe in each other. And then '07 was special because everyone had to come together due to the death of Sean. So going into '08, bro, I felt like with Coach Gibbs leaving, the change of guard, everything. I think we started off like 6-2. Um, Going into '08, we
Oh yeah,
the team still had that inner connection and that bond from Sean before that was interrupted. And then I think the realization from '05 to '08, it was like you give your all, you give your all to an organization, you give your all to a city, you leave it on the field, like every game, if you look at that time, I think once a year, maybe we were in a blowout or something. But every week was competitive. Every game was come down to the last possession, and you just had hard nosed football players. And then all of a sudden, you come to the realization, like for me, I think it kind of clicked when they removed Sean Jersey from the locker room and took it to the stadium, which I think is a great idea now. But at that time, and when they moved that locker and they put Jamal Brown, nothing to Jamal Brown. I think he good teammate, good guy, but they replaced Sean Taylor locker with Jamal Brown, and it was like so many lockers in that locker room or so much space where you could have just added a locker, and I think that just gave you that mentality, like man, you're replaceable. Like you're like Sean,
yeah,
Sean locker, and
Yeah.
it just was like that same I'll run through a brick wall or I'll jump off, run through a fire or a burning building or whatever, the notion that you would like to say, it just wasn't there. It was that like, damn, man, like you just replaced me. That was the first time that I
go ahead.
really felt like the real business of football. And then that's different because when you're playing and you have that mentality or you have that HCTR, like when you feel like this, like I'll die for this. It's got how you look at gangs, Bloods and Crips. You like what they fight for, colors. Like
Yeah.
they fight for a neighborhood or some land that's not theirs. That's kind of what happened, and you realize you're replaceable, and just a lot came about, and I think it just changed the situation. Because honestly, I think if you would have kept everything the same after that '05 season, I think '06 would have been our year. And I got hurt in the preseason. Um, we changed coordinators. We changed so much, and we did need to change. The one year that we didn't need to change, maybe you just add something, was after the '05 season. I think we had an opportunity to add some key players. I think Bart Scott and Ratliff, and we, you know, I think we added the safety. What was the safety name from the Rams?
From the Rams, yeah.
Archuleta.
Adam
Yeah, Adam
Archuleta.
Archuleta.
Archuleta, man. I think we added Archuleta. Like it was just one of those situations where you didn't need to make that move, and we let Ryan Clark go. We let pieces go that we really should have kept, and we added pieces that we didn't need, and it changed the chemistry in the locker room. And then we changed offensive coordinators, and we had to get used to a new system. Like every year we changed OCs, and every year we endured change, and you didn't really need all of that change after '05.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great thing that you're bringing up, Clinton, that a lot of fans and people that may not be around that industry, the sports industry, but it's important the continuity of an organization and a locker room and the brotherhood. If you look around professional leagues, the teams that end up winning championships and competing for championships, they typically have in common continuity and brotherhood and chemistry. And it just seems like, unfortunately, the decision makers at the time of your tenure with the team, they didn't really have a good grasp of who were those glues to, keeping things in order in the locker room and the brotherhood, such as a Ryan Clark, such as other pieces, So like, I just want you to kind of tell us like how many times like teams like forget that element of sports. Like, did you ever have any of the executives like ask you like who's a guy that we should keep, we must keep, and they completely derive from the whole plan that you may have illustrated to them? Because in my eyes and most of our eyes, you were the franchise player during your tenure here with the Washington football team.
Well, man, for me, I think I was in the air. I tried to keep Ryan Clark. I think we drafted LeBron, and they brought in Adam, and then Adam didn't work, so they drafted LeBron. But I think we should have kept Ryan Clark. We should have kept Antonio Pierce, um, Robert Royal. Like these were key figures on the team, like important pieces to the puzzle. And then all of a sudden, Smoot. We lost Smoot, Clark, Royal, AP, LeVar. Like we start losing people that meant something in the locker room. And then when you replace them with someone, Adam Marshall, people wanted Ryan Clark. It's nothing against Adam. It's just people wanted Ryan Clark. And you look at how Ryan Clark turned down and how Ryan Clark finished his career in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you had Robert Royal went to Buffalo, to Buffalo. Just key pieces that meant something in the locker room that people bonded with had to leave and go elsewhere. Smooth. They went elsewhere and came back, but you never should have you never should have
They
lost
left in the
those guys.
first place. Yep.
And, yeah, you never should have lost those guys. And uh, I think all organizations in all of sports should at least let players have input. If you look at Russell Wilson and his aggravation with Seattle, or you look at Aaron Rodgers and his aggravation with Green Bay, like get me a receiver, like get me some help, or
Right.
Russell Wilson, like get me an offensive line, get me a
Block.
running back, like
Shit.
give me something, like just listen to me and let me get one pick. I think for myself, being able to get the organization's ear to draft Sean because they were stuck on Kellen Winslow, being able to trade for Santana once Lavernius told me he was ready to leave. um, having input in those decisions where I was at, like I call Coach Gibbs, I call Vinny, I call Dan, shit, I call Miss BJ. I'm calling anybody who will answer the phone to say, let's make sure we get these people, like these are the people we need.
Yeah. No, I respect that, man. I think hopefully more organizations learn to listen to their players and not treat them like robots. I mean,
Well,
they have a better pulse on what's going
I
on.
think if organizations would listen to their players, the temperature in locker rooms, you see the Houston Rockets lose James Harden. Like, bro, that man was the city. That man was Houston. You see OKC lose Russell Westbrook, and after you lose KD, like you don't. Who gets the luxury of having KD, Harden, and Westbrook? Like you
Yeah.
drafted these people, Serge Ibaka, but you bring in Kendrick Perkins, and you sign Serge Ibaka, so you lose James Harden, and eventually KD is gone. Like you can't mess up that chemistry. It's hard to get back. Like it's hard to recover when you have something so good. I think that people in the front office feel like, well, I did it, so I could do it again. But you don't have that kind of talent. Like those are staples in the NBA. Those are faces. Like all three of those names are top seven in the NBA.
Yeah.
Top seven All-Star games. Rings. Like you just unbelievable. Russell Westbrook triple double.
Yeah.
Harden can give you 50 a night. KD, one of the sharpshooters. Like you don't get that, man, and then you lose it when you let it go. When you mess up that chemistry, it's just one of them situations. You be like, damn, man, like y'all messed this up.
For sure, man. I think one of the like you already stated it, and both you and AJ stated it. I think one of the things back then is sometimes now my question in my head would be like how many people in terms of the roster and the players were fighting for trying to keep that continuity. Not necessarily saying it was one side or the other, but like I would just be curious because that would be interesting to see like how a team can just frankly kind of just go over the opinions of what the players felt. Like that's kind of weird in my sense. Obviously, I'm not knee deep into like how the workings of an NFL is, but that's just interesting to see. Like there are players out there fighting to try and keep a team's continuity together, and there's other players that's probably alongside you, for example, who was vocal about these decisions, and somehow, in some way, they're like, nah, we'll let
Well,
these guys
I
go, and we'll get the guys that we wanted in.
Well, I don't think a lot of people, get into the business of it. A lot of people worry about themselves. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to make the team, so I can't worry about if this dude's gonna be here. So a lot of people are afraid of those situations. I ain't never been worried about it. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like a good teammate is a good teammate, man. Like I don't give a damn who you bring in. When it comes down to, hey, it's gonna be competitive and the best man gonna win. I'm all for the competition. Like I love to compete. If you look at the guys that they brought in as running backs through my tenure, the closest locker room, I mean the closest position group we had was Liddell Betts, Rock Cartwright, Mike Sellers, myself, Ernest Biner. Like that was a real brotherhood. We argued, we talked crazy to each other, but when it's time to step on the field, Liddell got my back, Rock got my back, Mike got it, EB got it. You know what I mean? EB gonna go to bat behind closed doors, whatever. That's what you want. I don't. You look at all the other guys they brought in. They brought in Larry Johnson. They brought in um, Sean Alexander,
Sean
Will
yeah,
Alexander.
Parker,
the
uh,
tiptoe burglar.
uh,
I was just talking about him the other day.
TJ TJ Duckett. Like, bro, they brought in so many different running backs for the competition, which was
Yep.
cool, but I wasn't ever sweating that shit. Like, oh, what's up, man? Like, you gonna be second on the depth chart. Like, I ain't even know I'm gonna go do what I
and,
do,
and,
and then you come in. Like,
And plus, you came from University of Miami, where you had what? Willis McGahee, Edrin James,
Where I
Najee
had gangsters,
Davenport.
where I
Yeah,
had
you
real gangsters.
had.
You can't get that kind of competition. Because I had real gangsters. You're looking at Frankie G, who top three rushers all time, a young Frankie G.
And he's
Still in the
still
Like
league.
playing.
Still in the
I
league.
knew I knew Frankie G was a gangster in high school. Like we was going high school to watch Frank and when Andre Johnson, like, bro, we had so much talent. It was like when you got into the league, it was kind of like a step back. You're looking around like, oh man, we would have dogged them. Like we would have dogged this team, because you can't fill an NFL roster out with those guys. And then having a real OG in edge, like having someone that you could bounce anything off of, having someone that was smart, that was book smart, street smart, like gonna always, give you the put you in the right situation. Like it was different because in locker rooms you don't have those guys. In locker rooms, guys don't talk, guys don't open up. Like you see dudes on the field, but you don't really be going to these dudes' houses and XYZ and knowing what they got going on.
So
Yeah, but
what?
that's where I get Ma. Let me ask this real quick, because I mean, Clinton, I know how close you and Edrin James is, and with him making the Hall of Fame this year. Have you given any thought of your process of possibly making the Hall of Fame over the coming years? Like, have you put any thought behind that?
Man, like I don't sit up at night thinking about what you got to convince somebody. I think when you look at numbers, my numbers speak for themselves. To see EJ go in, I mean, you know what I mean? Like I got
Yeah,
a real brother that's Hall of Fame, and everybody say, well, you should have got 10,000 yards, and you should have did this, and you should have did that. Like all of that stuff was in my reach, and like I said, the love for the game disappeared, and I felt like I would be cheating the game to stay and try to play for numbers. You see what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
I'm sticking around just to get these numbers, but I don't care no more. I feel like that's cheating my teammates. That's cheating my fans. Like I wanted to go out with you knowing like I'm gonna lay it on the line. I want to go out with you thinking, you know what, man, CP actually got hurt in a preseason game for making a tackle on the
On a,
interception
hmm?
that nobody would have gave a fuck about anyway. Like think about remember that. Remember landing on the line or like that's the stuff that I want you to remember. Whether it's in my book, in my eyes, I know I changed the running back position. Like it wasn't no 26s before me. You had Robert Smith. Nobody remember Robert Smith. He was a hell of a running back, but nobody remembered Robert Smith. Me and Deuce McAllister came out with 26 at the same time. Um, Me, Deuce, Robert Smith, like those were the 26s. Now you look every back 26. I smile because I know I had to start that. 28 was the number back then. Marshall Falk was in 28. Curtis Martin was in 28. Corey Dillon was in 28. Like, them were
yeah.
some bad men. Fred Taylor was in
Fred Taylor.
28. And then all of a sudden, it switched from 28 to 26.
Hey, Clinton, this is Dre here, and I had to ask you because I'm a Washingtonian all my life, been here, Redskin fan all my life. I remember the day you got traded for by Joe Gibbs, and I said to myself, I said, Joe Gibbs got his running back. And Joe Gibbs is like a deity to us around here as, longtime Washington fans.
Yep.
And I want to know, what was it like for you playing for Joe Gibbs? Is this something you can distinguish for him from the rest of the coaches you played for in your life?
Man, yeah, Coach Gibbs, a god. Like Coach Gibbs is a real god. He's probably the most humble individual, a real champion, a real winner, a man that lead other men. A man that get other men to buy in and is not one of those. Everybody. Oh man, I'm a Christian. I'm faith driven. I'm XYZ. That's Coach Gibbs. That's really Coach Gibbs. No ifs ands buts about it. Um, and he's just one of a kind. You know, his heart pure, his energy is unreal. You could talk to him if you were having a conversation with him. You would never know that he's won anything. You know, and he always has God first. He's always pulling for you. Like you you don't get that. You know what I'm saying? I was blessed my entire career, but to have the luxury of playing for Coach Gibbs, man, like that was just one of those. You looking at, you end up being cool with their granddad. Like that's how Coach Gibbs was. Like Coach Gibbs, that granddad that's gonna love on you, that's gonna make sure you're right, that's gonna put you in position, and all he wants you to do is give your best. Whatever your best is, give me that. Give me that. All
Now, no.
time.
Hey, no, Clinton. I had to ask about Joe Gibbs. Have you ever seen him mad before? Has he ever been that before? I've never seen him mad.
What? I haven't seen him, man. I done pissed him off before.
That's
So, so on my birthday, every year I used to have a big birthday party. But every year it was always the last preseason game. My birthday is September 1st. It was always the last preseason.
Hey, Clint, we losing you a little bit over there.
And transitioning into the week before, I'm having a huge party, but a lot of the teammates can't come or get released before the party. You know, the mood just not there. Some people like, damn, I want to come out and might release me tomorrow. So my birthday always fall on. That's not that's like one of them days I ain't never been worried about. I never was getting released. So, most of the time we would have to come in and work out. Like you got to come in and run or come in and watch film. Try to get an early start on whoever you're playing week one. And the two or three times that I was ever late or missed practice was always my birthday party. And one more, like, bro, I set my alarm clock. I set my alarm clock the day before. I set my alarm knowing, hey, I'm getting up and I'm getting up early.
yeah, okay.
And I'll be damned.
Until
Yeah,
that
I'm
Henny hit
laying
the
in
system.
bed I'm laying in bed and all I can hear is my ringer is off. Like I never have my this number because to get my and the number to the facility, and I'm just like, oh damn. I look at the window, right? I look at my window and it's daylight outside, and I'm like, I can't believe I did this. So and it was like, hold on, coach wants.
Boy, Skype is letting us down right now.
And I'm like, I set my alarm. Like, you point at it like, look, that's 8:30 p.m. instead of, you hear me?
Yeah, so it's just the Skype connectivity. That's all. It goes in and out. But it ain't like you're fine sometimes, but it's really nothing on your end.
What
Nothing we can do.
What about now?
You sound good. You sound good.
Oh, all right. So where did I cut off at?
You
was
hey,
looking out the window and it was daylight.
Yep.
Oh, so I'm looking out the window and I'm like, bro, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. and I look at the phone and it's like 6 p.m. And
Oh Jesus
when a
Christ.
coach get on the phone, you can hear the tremble in his voice. Like you could actually hear the tremble in his voice. He was shaking like he's like Clint. And I was like, man, I set my alarm like and he was like, get in here. So I got, mind you, I stay in McLean. So now I have to go from McLean to, I got to go to practice. So the whole drive, I'm thinking, I can't believe this happened. So I make it to the facility. And when I get to the facility, everyone is gone. I go into Coach Gibbs. He throw up his hands and say, if you're going to be a leader, you can't do this. Guys are depending on you, and I need you here. And his bottom lip was shaking, and he sent me back home. Like I had to go all the way to the facility for him to tell me, like, I need you. And I felt like, man, damn, I let Coach Gibbs down. Like, I let Coach Gibbs down out of all people. And just from the tremble, he didn't curse, he didn't raise his voice. It was just that clear. And I felt like I had got a whooping. Like, man, I broke Coach Gibbs' heart. Like, and I'm like,
Hey,
Coach, yeah, it's my.
Hey, CP, I gotta ask you, how much did you get fined that day?
I don't even think I got fined. I don't even think.
Wow.
You just wanted the disappointment
Honestly.
to hit you. It was like your parents
Bro,
having that talk with you.
it wasn't even the fine. And if I did get fined, it just was like one of those unnoticeable because my birthday we was wide open anyway. So
Yeah.
I just chalked
Swiping.
So
it up like on the B-Day party. So it ain't even.
so Clinton, well, first off, chat for everybody that's still in here. If you all wanted to ask Clinton a question, obviously send them to the chat. You know, we can take a look at them. Obviously, ask Clinton why he's still on. I appreciate your time, Clinton, because I mean, you're very generous with what you're doing right now. Anyway, with that being said, we did have somebody who did comment. They just wanted to. Obviously, it's very near and dear to a lot of people's heart. They're just asking for Sean Taylor story. If it's possible that you had one on the tip of your tongue that you may wanted to get out there for the fans, Sean Taylor story that may have not been told just yet.
Oh man, it's hard to say. You know, a lot of stuff that I done with Sean just in those. You know how you just lock something up, like man, this our moment, or this was our time. So it's pointless for me to. It's not selfish of me to
Mm-hmm.
not even want to share it. So that's how a lot of the stories with.